are men who struggle against destiny, and yet achieve only an early grave. There are men who flee destiny, only to have it swallow them whole.
All right, getting to a little Dragon Age 2, and I'm joined by 3 adventurers. 2 of them are Jeff, Professor Jeff. How you doing?
Hail and well met, Korey Coleman.
Oh, forsooth and thou shit. And then we have Kevin Baird.
Hello.
How you doing? And we're joined by Cyrus, who has been on here before, and joins us again for...
Warrior needs food badly.
Yeah, I was about to say, what's the name of this fucking game? Yeah.
Dragon Age 2.
Yeah. And 2 of you guys finished the game. One of you didn't, and that would be Cyrus.
Yeah, I would like to point out that I played that game for 30 plus hours, and I only have to ask, how the fuck did you finish that game? Jesus Christ, what do you live in, like, well, do you have a pocket dimension that you go to or something? I mean, Jesus.
Well, Professor Jeff, he absorbs games when he first gets them. Like, he just, I don't even think he plays them. He just puts them on his head and just knows everything about the game after that.
Play by osmosis.
Yeah.
This was bad, though. This was like, when you go to an all-you-can-eat buffet with somebody who can eat a whole lot and like, it takes them down. I mean, on Sunday, I was struggling to keep playing this game, and I just finished it yesterday, and I think I ended up missing out on about 4 hours of stuff because I accidentally hit the quest that ended up being the end of the game.
Well, I played every single side quest, and I did burn through the game, but I played every quest and listened to every dialogue tree, and it took me about 15 to 16 hours to get through the game.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Kevin, because last night I was talking to Cyrus about this, and Cyrus pretty much called you a pussy. He's like, well, he didn't do all the side quests like I was trying to do.
You could quiz me on any of it. I did. I have heard that, I have heard people saying that it took them a lot longer, and the only thing I can think of is that I used the mages the entire time, and I made them into, like, super, like, destructive killers. Like, they just had all offensive hits. And so when demons, blood mage demons would appear, I mean, we would just take them down fast. So, I mean, maybe the combat for you guys was slower, but I mean, we just mauled through people.
Just steamrolled over it in 50. Yeah. I mean, even the website says expect 40 hours of gameplay. I'm like, well, how the fuck do you do it all in 15? I know you're like just actually bending the laws of physics.
Actually, the other thing I can think of is, Kevin, did you play it on the PC?
No, I played it on Xbox, and I will say that about 7 hours of that 15 is probably loading times between zones.
Or maybe Cyrus is just making up his own dialogue trees. He's coming there just making the conversations longer. They need to be like, hey, so how the kids?
Well, to be fair, I got very verklempt over some of the romances between characters. I mean, seriously, when my female warrior ended up hooking up with that hot little elf that was voiced by Eve Miles from Torchwood, dude, come on, man. Who didn't want to go back and rewatch that scene?
So there you go. Cyrus is going through the game, hitting on girls, getting shot down. Hey, can I take you to a pub, buy you a drink? Some ale?
I hit on everything that moved. It's like even an opportunity to do it. You're like, yes, please touch me.
Yeah, he was chasing girls through the game. That's why it took so long. He's tracking girls down, stalking people, looking through windows, masturbating.
Of course, nobody wants to touch you when you're constantly covered in blood.
That is what I was going to say, because in this game, you play a character. Now, if anybody who's played any of the other previous games, this is not so much a sequel. Some people are calling this a reboot or sort of a side thing. Whatever it is, you're not playing the same character. You play a different character named Hawk, who pretty much has blood tattooed to his face in this game because it's never clean.
Or her face.
Or her face, yeah. This is from BioWare, of course, and BioWare is very famous for Mass Effect 2, and the upcoming Mass Effect 3.
So famous that, in fact, they've just remade it here, but with Dungeons and Dragons instead of science fiction.
Yeah, because they have imported a lot of things over from Mass Effect and Mass Effect 2 that worked, and they brought it over into this game now, including things like the dialogue, as we were talking about. Dialogue seems a little more streamlined in the sense that they did with Mass Effect 2. Also, you can import the games, except when you import a game here, it's not as deep as it is with Mass Effect, where you can continue a story, because here it's not a continuation of a story. Like we said, it's kind of a reboot. So when you import a game here, you can import your save, but you only have minor changes. Like,
well, they're fun though. I mean, you get to see, like, you'll get characters that'll pop up that are from the first game that won't pop up at all if you haven't imported those saves. So I guess if you were a big fan of the first game, which I was only kind of, midway a fan of, then yeah, it is pretty cool. But it's not like Mass Effect where you're like, okay, you are directly continuing the story of these characters.
Well, no, it's not like they took the cheap way out. I mean, you have cutscenes and conversations, and then you have some missions that are and quests that are changed, but it's not as advanced as it is in Mass Effect 2, at least from what I understand. I haven't played the game.
If they were seeing it as they lifted all this stuff and like the whole conversation tree, the changes that have been done there, I don't understand why they couldn't have brought in that interrupt mechanic from Mass Effect 2, where if you're tired of listening to somebody, you can just shoot them in the face.
Yeah.
Like, I was tired of listening to hundreds of people in this game. I want to just stab them, and get on with my business.
You're like, are you serious? Why the fuck do I give a care about your dog or whatever it is, Or you're saying, oh, great, another fucking stupid ass mage is lost in the woods somewhere. Just deal with your own problems, people.
Jeff is ready to stab people just for saying hi. Hello, sir.
Just shut up. Shut up. I got stuff to do.
Now, in this, one of the things that you complained about, Jeff, is that you don't like how big the world is, and it seems like they have scaled down a little bit because
I don't like how small the world is.
Well, it's just, you made it sound like it was just a town, because here it's not so much about exploring the world as it was before. Like, things are more political in this story.
Yeah, I mean, you spend, I would say, 85 to 90% of your time basically rolling around this one town. Yeah. I mean, you've got like the daytime side, the nighttime side, and then like a few areas that are outside of there.
Yeah.
But by and large, you're just running around this one environment, and that's for like all 30 or 40 hours of this game you're spending running up and down the same streets, talking to people and doing stuff, and going into the same houses and the same dirt roads.
That's the biggest flaw, really, for this game, especially when you compare it to Mass Effect, which has a feeling of just giant scope. You're like, God damn, it's the whole fucking universe. That and the fact that they reuse the same models for some of the places that you're going back to repeatedly as well. You're like, wow, all these houses are, I mean, this is like one of these, got to be one of those McMansion neighborhoods where they're just the same house over and over again,
The first time I ran down one of those outside areas and I realized that it was one of the ones I had been in, it was just turned around backwards. Yeah. It was like, oh, come on, BioWare. It's seriously, like, I don't know. This
like
is
they
the
just,
age.
Like they just flip shit?
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of times where you go into an area and it's just like they close two doors and turn it backwards, and that's your area.
Yeah, what's even worse is like they can't even be bothered to delete the doors or the map showing where you would go in the other location. I mean, you see, you're like, you'll be in a dungeon and or just underground, and it'll be the exact same map as a different dungeon. You just can't actually go through those areas. You can see the door, you can't go through it. It's like, how fucking lazy are you for programming this? Jesus.
Jesus, it is like a Mac Mansion. I mean, did you see like yuppie white families driving out in SUVs in their cars and shit?
And then you kill the village,
and then you blow their ass up,
and you get covered with blood.
Yeah, it's just seeing the repetitiveness in the environments was just I don't know. It was a real turn off, and it seems like that was one of the things to me that seemed to kind of indicate that this game may have been a little bit rushed out the door. Because I mean, when you look at some of the other stuff that BioWare's made, not just Mass Effect, but the original Dragon Age, you see a lot of diversity in different environments. The fact this whole place, the whole game took place in this one town and these like kind of generic environments. I mean, flipping an environment backwards, I haven't seen that shit since like Nintendo.
Yeah, just lazy, man.
And you know what? I was kind of irritated by the storyline just in the sense that it is cribbed so heavily from the X-Men, really. I mean, replace mutants for mages, and that's what you've got.
The Nice Templar has been convinced to postpone his hunt for illegal mages. So let's not dwell upon it, shall we?
Wise girl.
You're quick to offer your allegiance.
Another blade between us and the Darkspawn? Yes, please.
So long as the Horde is their first concern.
My duty is clear, but that is for another day, if we are granted that opportunity.
I mean, and it plays through a lot of those same story angles that we're pretty tired of from the X-Men, you know. The best parts of the game story-wise are a lot of the subplots, like the one with the serial killer running around the town. I thought was kind of a fun subplot, especially, I don't know if there's multiple ways to end it, but the way mine ended was pretty gruesome and nasty. I was like, okay, that was awesome.
Well, speaking of the game, I mean, first of all, is there one overarching story here that brings us like one quest together or one story mode together? And if so, what's the writing like in the game?
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to say there's three main chunks to the game. It's, you know, you kind of start with a prologue, and then there's these three times where it's like you come to this town, you pick up these subquests, and the whole thing culminates in you going out and doing a big thing, for lack of a better term. And then
what is that
back.
thing?
Well, I don't want to give away too much of the plot. I mean, I don't know.
Jeff, there's this thing called a premise that we could sum up the game without spoiling.
Like the concept of what the actual story is a continuation from the themes in the last game, which is there's all these different rival organizations. There's the Templars, which are sort of like a holy order of knights that take orders from the Chantry. And then there's the City Guard, which kind of work with the Templars, but kind of don't at the same time, but they've got their own corruption problems. And nobody likes the mages, which are, like I said, like mutants who basically, if they don't get some guidance, they lose control and go insane or become monsters or something. But a lot of the mages are fighting against that, saying, okay, no, we don't need anybody to tell us what to do. And 90% of the plot surrounds this mage issue and how various people are basically trying to fuck them in the ass.
The Dragon Age universe is actually, now that I think about it, pretty racist, because they treat dwarves like crap. They treat elves like indentured servants. They treat mages like, you know,
who are those Klingon type guys? What are they called?
The Kunari.
Yeah, the Kunari. Yeah, they're like everyone treats them like crap, but they don't care. They're like whatever, fucking humans.
I don't know why they changed those guys so much from the first game. I didn't even realize it was the same race.
Jeff, wait a minute. I don't know what's going on with your mic, but
he's been replaced by a robot.
I know. Yeah,
all right,
it's
hold on.
again.
I'll be right back. Hold on.
Oh, I thought he had like his own like theme music when he left.
I know, right? I want that.
I thought the audience was going to start applauding as he left the scene. And
How about now? Is that any better?
Yeah, a little hot. You can scoot back from it, but yeah, that is better.
Okay,
Kramer.
Yeah, everybody starts applauding now that he's back in the room. Hey guys, this is better. Yeah. So we were just saying how they treated the dwarves and the elves and hobbits like shit. And you were you were marching for their civil rights right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Dragon Age is a weird fantasy universe, because most fantasy universes just, they kiss the elves' taint all day long about how awesome and pretty and immortal they are, and
not here.
No,
seriously, they are. They're like the Antonio of the video game world. They're
kind of like how we treat midgets in the real world. So
yeah.
Speaking of which,
wait, I don't know about you, but midgets are awesome. Okay, I'm sorry.
I treat them with respect, But I've seen you kick a midget or two now. Don't say
you're dreaming, man. I would never fuck with midgets. Those little fuckers will come at you en masse, and you are fucked.
Especially if they're stacked up on each other's shoulders, man.
They will. They will totally form into a giant midget.
Yes.
They will be. Yeah, you don't even want to mess with that world. Trust me.
No, I have nothing but respect for midgets. I'm still trying to have sex with one, so
that's why.
Blaster.
Yeah.
That's why elves suck, because they don't form into a giant robot.
Who runs Dragon Age 2? Master Blaster runs Dragon Age 2. Speaking of all these mythical creatures, like elves and dwarves and things like that, can you play an elf or a dwarf or a smurf or anything in this?
No, and the reason is because unlike the first game where you didn't actually hear what your character was saying, here you do, and the different characters have different, speech patterns and stuff, the different races, so they kind of set it where you can just be a human. But you can be a guy or girl.
Let me say something. This is kind of a problem I had with the game, and kind of helps explain it a little bit. When you start off and you go on any kind of mission or whatever, you pick 4 people to be in your group of the available characters that you have. And if you're playing a warrior or a mage, and there's 3 things that you can be: a warrior, a mage, or a thief. And if you play warrior or mage, you basically always want to take the dwarf guy with you, because he's the only thief that you find in the game.
Yeah.
And the reason is because as soon as you get into that part of the game, you can switch between any of the 4 characters. And so the entire time, even though you've decided to play as a warrior or a mage, you'll probably play as the thief, because he's the only guy that can open chests that you find, and he's the only guy that detects traps. And he only detects the traps when you're playing as him.
No,
So
that's not true. That's not true.
Well, that was my experience, because my guys would constantly run over spikes and flame traps and arrows shooting through the walls.
That's because you busted the game in 15 hours. That's you were just sprinting through shit. Like, come on, I gotta beat Cyrus.
but if you don't have that guy in your group, it's just you're never opening a chest, and you're never beating a trap. I mean, the traps are going to be there.
That was one of the big problems, and I agree with you. Plus, there's only one choice of a thief. What is that about? But the other problem is that whereas your main character, Hawk, can upgrade to any number of things from stores of weapons and armor, almost all of the equipment in this game is only usable by her. You can't upgrade the other guy's stuff but once in a blue moon. You're like, why can't they use this set of greaves? That other character's a warrior. I don't understand why they can't use this. I mean, it's just poorly conceived of in the way that the stores work and the items.
Yeah. By the way, Isabella was a thief. You can use her the same way as you can use Varric.
Oh, okay.
You just have to. She's not spec'd for opening chests by default, but if you dump a bunch of stuff into like cunning or whatever it is, she can do the same thing.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot of things that they've done to cause some drawbacks for the game, but there's some things that they've tried to improve on. And one of the most important things for a fantasy RPG such as this is the combat, and they've done a somewhat of an overhaul for the combat. Now, I remember when I was at Comic-Con and they made a big deal about Dragon Age 2. I mean, I walked by, I'm not lying here, I walked into the wrong area and they had guys like, sir, you're in the wrong place, don't walk here. They actually had a dragon guarding the door. It's like, and one of the things that they were so excited about is like, for them, this was the Dragon Age that was also going to be just a little more mainstream. And so some people were talking about how, okay, well, yeah, this is the combat is a little bit easier, but I've also heard different opinions saying that, all right, you've reduced the combat to a little bit more button mashing instead of anything that requires skill. I don't know how you guys feel about that. What side of that argument do you fall on?
I like the combat better in this one personally. It worked for me a lot better, but maybe that's because of there may be a difference in between console and PC gamers with this sort of thing about how it was, whether or not it was better. I mean, like I said, I love the whole radial menu thing, and that worked great for me. I had no problem with the combat.
I think I had some problems with actually the combat in Dragon Age 1. Like I thought it was, they didn't pull any punches. It was really, Baldur's Gate. It was hard. There were sometimes if you didn't know what you were doing, you were really just going to go down really quick. On the other hand, I think that in this one, I liked the combat. I had a lot of fun with it when I was able to actually do it, but it seemed a lot like I never felt that like there was too much of any kind of real challenge. I mean, once I had a tank, a healer, a warrior, and a rogue. Yeah. The only time that I ever had to do anything was when I got to a boss. I would switch over to the healer because the AI was too stupid to heal me at the right time, and just manually do that and let the computer take care of the enemy. So
I was almost glad that that was the case though, because you're right, the combat is kind of easy, even though it is fun using all those spells or effects against people. It's only during the bosses that you have to constantly, turn on the radio menu, which freezes the action, and, keep using potions or use your healer and switch around the different characters like that. It gets a little frantic at some of those boss battles, but never to the point where you're worried you can't do it.
Kevin, what are you going to say?
I don't mind so much like the combat, but the game engine to me is a little bit dated. And for instance, a lot of times when you run in, guys will just appear. They just like appear in like a puff of smoke or something. And it's fine if they're like mages or whatever, but it's like, you're just talking. Some guys will run down like the street to get you, which they try to hide it a little bit. But generally it's just like, it's just like Mass Effect. Guys are just like appearing and you're in combat with them, or spiders just appear out of nowhere, and it's constantly like that. Like you run into you open a door and then there's just a bunch of guys in there. I mean, what have they been doing there the whole time? It's like
waiting to beat your ass. That's what they've been waiting for. Come on,
just hanging out, fully armored up and everything with bows and swords and stuff. Like as soon as you open that door, we're getting them.
who pays these guys to do this? I mean, this better not be coming out of my taxes.
Yeah, I know. And like before Kevin gets there, all these guys just been sitting around drinking coffee, just hanging.
They're putting together like a casino or something. This is a great place for it. We'll put the roulette wheel over there. Somebody's there.
It'd be fun if they found a way to like exploit this type of thing that people have been wondering about, laughing about for ages. It should be like the big fight, and then the one guy comes out of the shitter with a magazine at the end of it.
Oh shit! Yeah, everybody's dead. Actually, no, he's the lucky one. Everybody's on the ground dead, and he's like, "Oh shit, I missed it." But
you're gonna see some dwarf like in Pulp Fiction coming out of the bathroom shooting a crossbow.
Yeah. But speaking of some of your battles, especially your boss battles, now, from what I understand, this is not your average boss battle. You got one guy who goes up against a big spider or a giant something. Here, these are kind of like battles that you would see in an MMO. They're kind of raids against something that's huge. And I don't know if that's actually something that makes the gameplay more exciting, or if that's something that makes the gameplay probably a little more, I don't know, convoluted.
Well, the difference is you don't have to wait 3 hours to get into one of those battles in this game, as opposed to raids and MMOs. You're like, Jesus, people, get it together.
Yeah.
I think Dragon Age has always tended towards that, towards the MMO structure for their combat, where you have a tank and a healer and then, DPS and that sort of thing. And it's one of the things that I think tripped me up when I tried to play the first Dragon Age, because I tried to play it like a Japanese RPG, and no, you can't do that. I mean, the whole combat is built around kind of protracted long battles, at least in the first game. In this one, it was people dying left and right.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things about Dragon Age that kind of bothers me is that you get into these situations where you're going, you basically know you're going to be fighting in a boss battle, and it happens all the time throughout this game. There's dozens of them, and for a game that really concentrates on this conversation tree to sort of manipulate the way people feel about you. Basically, whenever I go into one of these situations where I'm meeting the corrupt mage, or I'm talking to the guy about the Cune and all that stuff, I just know in the back of my head, no matter what I say, we're going to be fighting. I mean, at no point is that guy just going to be like, "You're right. I've been wrong this whole time. I'm going to just leave here. You guys can have my place." It's like you're constantly just, no matter where you go with it, you're going to see. You could be the nicest guy ever. You could be like, "Look, I'll give you gold. You could have this house. Just let's not fight." And the guy's like, "No, we're fighting." You're just getting.
We should totally start a rumor that there is like a way, a story tree you can go that makes the final boss go, I never thought of it that way. And it'd be like the Tomb Raider nude code for this game. You're like, can't do it.
Kevin makes it try. Yeah. Kevin makes it sound like the conversation should be simply, "Hey, look, man, one of us ain't walking away from this shit, okay? Why are we even wasting time?" All right.
What's funny though about that is that I was reading online about the end of the game because I wanted to kind of see how the other ways that you could do it play out. But at the end of the game, it's like you have this one character that is like, "Join me and be evil," and so your normal choice is to say, go to hell. But I read online that if you join that person, you're like, "All right, let's be evil," that then the story still makes you fight them. It's still twisted around so that you have to kill this one person.
Wow, that's a dick move of the story.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get out of this. I'm a lover, not a fighter. Come on.
Hey, just start doing Rodney Dangerfield all of a sudden, Cyrus. Hey, with no respect here.
No respect. Besides, hey, man, let's face it, evil pays.
Yes, it does. I've tried it many times. Before we finish this review, any kind of glitches? Because in these games that are so big, I mean, even some of your best ones, you always find that there's a glitch somewhere here and there, so a body disappearing or something.
It froze up on me once on the Xbox. It seems like when it disconnected from EA's servers, which was a problem. Yeah. I had another problem where because I had played Mass Effect on the Xbox 360, and it automatically logged me into my my EA account that I had used for that, but I wanted to use another EA account that I had, because I had registered the serial numbers with it, and there was no way to switch on the Xbox 360 version between the one that it automatically logs you in with and your other one, once you've already gotten it going. I had to call their technical support to help me out through that problem. I don't think that'll affect most people, and sometimes the dwarf animations got screwed up. His crossbow would be all in these weird places or on the ground. It was just kind of strange, but otherwise it worked fine.
Cool.
I think generally speaking, as games like this go, it's not that glitchy. I mean, sure, somebody will occasionally be standing inside of a rock or something, but you know, not often enough where it really bugs you. But actually, one of the biggest problems I had with this, while very much looking forward to it, especially since I love Mass Effect 2 so much, is that Mass Effect 2 had so many neat cameos of like big name actors doing the voices, and this has like 2. You know, it's like
who are the actors doing the voices here?
You got Kate Mulgrew, who has a small appearance in the beginning of the game and possibly later, I don't know. And then, like I said earlier, Eve Miles, who plays the lead female role on the British series Torchwood, who is the one I totally nailed. But
wow. The one that you stalked and ran after and almost raped in this game.
She's so innocent; it did feel a little like rape.
I like the way when you were saying how much you like Mass Effect 2. I almost thought you were in serious. I thought you were crying at first because you stumbled over 2. Like, I like Mass Effect 2. It's gonna be all right, man. Coming out with 3.
It's not gonna be all right. I mean, okay.
Jeff, were you about to say something?
Well, I just wanted to bring up before we get done that EA has gone over the top with this like Project $10 unlock stuff for Dragon Age 2. I mean, they give you so much for basically going out and being a huge fanboy of this game that it's not funny. It's like, did you play Dragon Age? Then you get the Dragon Age armor. Did you play Dead Space 2? Well, then you get Isaac's armor. Like, did you like us on Facebook? Then you get some experience points. Did you sign up for the newsletter? Then you get some experience points. Did you sign up for the other newsletter? Well, then you get some more experience points. Like, there's literally like 27 to 30 unlocks in this game, and the day it came out, it had one more companion that was DLC. That was another $6 on top of the $60 you're already paying for the game. So.
Okay, cool. Well, we've covered a lot of information here about this game. What's the overall verdict from everyone?
No, I want to know, by the way, do y'all still not have a rating system here? I mean, obviously you can't go like matinee, you know?
Yeah, we can. It won't make sense, but we can.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You guys totally need your own rating system. You do.
We have one that we're working on right now, and I think it's almost there. So,
yeah, work faster.
Trying. Let's see what we have. Well, you know what? We have a rating system of, would you pay full price for it? Would you rent it? Is it a bargain bin game or bargain? Yeah, or would you just say this game is bullshit?
It'd be helpful if we had a 5 system. That way we can appear in things like Metacritic and things like that. We've talked about that in the past.
Just do what we do. Just be like, well, it's a high rental, you know.
Yeah.
In other words, get stoned, get some chips, and play the game.
Is that what you feel about this game?
That's what I would give it. I like this game for what it's worth. I mean, it has a lot of flaws, but I love RPGs, and ultimately, this is the type of game that, like, when I'm having my hungover Sundays on the couch, I'd easily sit here and play this for just 8 hours and not think about anything except, you know, just, all right, one more mission.
Yeah. What about you guys?
I'd say it's hard because I would say bargain bin, but then, you know, EA wants to charge you for that, the Black Emporium, which is a really useful part of the game that costs $6 if you buy the game used. You don't have the code for it. So, I don't know. I guess bargain bin, high rental if you're a power playing weekend warrior.
I mean, I give it a full price, but on the caveat that if this is like this in Dragon Age 3, where it's been like sort of like they've dumbed it down and only done like an incremental update, then it's not going to be as generous. I mean, I had a lot of fun with this game. I feel like I got my money's worth with it, so, you know, I give it a full price. But, yeah, I'm not a fan of EA's crippleware either, but I still felt like I got my money's worth.
All right. So I guess to sum this up is that, you know, it is streamlined, battle streamlined. They've, I guess, made the dialogue a little more linear. I guess some of the drawbacks of it is that the world itself kind of seems scaled back a little bit, and so it's not that much.
Go back a lot.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I guess next thing you know, these guys are gonna be fighting in some guy's condo or some shit like that.
Yeah, the next one is it's like a bottle movie. It's just all in one room.
Nothing but dialogue. The whole thing is just one conversation tree.
It's gonna be BioWare's version of Sartre's No Exit.
That's the sixth blight of Ferelden is in some guy's closet, like just demons dumping out of there.
My dinner with what the fuck is this? Dragon Age 2, goddammit.
Who's the character from this? My dinner with Hawk.
My dinner with Hawk, yeah.
We stand upon the precipice of change. War and death approach. You cannot evade it. Claim your destiny. Or be claimed by it.